the Innovation Podcast with Mark Reed Edwards and Garnett Harriman. Let's start the show.
Hi, Garnett. How you doing?
Great, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You recovered from CES?
Mostly. It's a pretty overwhelming and exhausting experience, but feeling a lot better now than I did when I caught that cold.
Those two episodes got, a great reaction, but they were kind of oddball episodes. I think we'll do some more of that where you're out in the field or I'm out in the field and we interview people. But the bulk of what we're going to do is talk to experts kind of in a setting like this. And our first couple of episodes where we do that are about experiential marketing with James Kern and Chris Clegg. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm going to start with just the market landscape, and then we'll wind up with a little bit more about James and Chris. So 2018, for anyone who does anything in business and anyone who's a marketing expert in particular, it's sort of the year of experiential marketing and this notion of basically advertising through experiences, engaging through experiences versus things like digital ads and what have you. And so that continues apace in 2019. I have a quick quote I'll read to you from CMO magazine, which is, a pretty big industry rag. It's all about refocusing your strategy around experiences and ongoing relationship with your customer rather than just buying for a single transaction. That statement unto itself is pretty revolutionary given the history of advertising, but that's the kind of mindset that I think is prevailing in experiential marketing and why it's so important going forward into 2019. With that said, we have a couple of folks who are in the avant-garde of really defining that. James Kern is the CEO and founder of Experientialism, now rebranded as Xism, 7-year, 8-year veteran of the experiential marketing industry with big clients like Adobe and Microsoft. And then we have Chris Clegg, CEO and founder of Portma, which is short for Portland Marketing Analytics. And they are a data science firm, basically in the forefront of defining methodologies for understanding how events affect consumers and the relationships with consumers. And that's what we have coming up.
All right. Why don't we get to that interview?
Sounds good.
Yeah, so much brain power. We may break the internet today. So,
given how glib and articulate everyone is, maybe more the Twitter sphere.
Exactly. So, okay, the question I have is just a dumb writer: is what is a brand experience? Maybe James, you can lead off, and we can head over to Chris.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. And I would say a brand experience, right? So maybe we just kind of step back a little bit to what is a brand. And, historically, we probably all are familiar with the story of the ranchers branding their cattle and having truly a brand mark on livestock was the beginning of a brand. But we all know that has well beyond in today's market, beyond a logo and colors and a word mark. Brands really now represent kind of an emotional connection to a company or any kind of brand, right? A brand could be a person. You can have a personal brand. There's corporate brands. There's sports brands. There's all sorts of brands out there, right? But in terms of a brand experience in today's market, we've moved past the traditional advertising. We've exploded into digital advertising and all the stuff that you can do online and now in the mobile phone. And in the last, 5 to 10 years, we've really seen this notion of experiential marketing. Mm-hmm. Blossoming in the marketplace. And so what does that mean? What is it to have a brand experience? Well, all of those things we've mentioned so far are a touch point, and an individual has an experience that they respond to their consumption of a visual mark or some sort of brand messaging. But now in the experiential marketing space, we're really looking at a live interaction with the brand. So that could be somebody attending a conference. That could be someone attending a trade show and experiencing a brand at a booth. That could be somebody getting a sample of a product, like in the grocery market, where they're handing out little cups of whatever consumer packaged goods that is. It could be a free trial of an online digital product, right? And now, beyond that level of brand experience, I think marketers and business owners at large are becoming more aware that a 360-degree experience for a consumer or a user or even a stakeholder inside of a corporation. Now, every interaction you have with the brand, whether it be the packaging or, when you're unboxing something, or it could be the support person you interact with when you have a challenge and you need help, or it could be the tutorial video online helping you understand how to use your new gadget or your product. All of these things now are considered as components to the complete brand experience. And so now it's very important to satisfy our consumers or our stakeholders by making sure that the brand experience is positive and is on brand, consistent with marketing, messaging, et cetera, all the way through the various touch points that a person might come into contact with what we now know as sort of a brand.
Right. I've heard a colleague of mine say that he's worked on big brands and even down to the contracts that people sign during the sales process, that is part of the brand experience. And so the language in that has to reflect the brand. It's not just a legal document, but it is a representation of the brand.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's true. And then you take that to also what's the physical format that we're doing that? Are we doing this as a DocuSign on digital? Are we actually sitting down and FedExing documents back and forth? And just what that consumption or interaction is around the physical handling of ratifying these documents is also reflective of the brand. So it really goes down to that granular, nuanced experience at every touch point.
Chris, what do you think?
I think it's all great stuff. I agree with James 100%. I mean, from my perspective, a carpenter with a hammer, everything's a nail. And so as a marketing analyst, I'm always thinking about, why is marketing working? And brand experience kind of gets to the heart of that, because what somebody gets when they decide to engage a brand and that resulting experience, that's judged based on the expectations that marketing made. And if that expectation aligns with the experience, then someone becomes loyal. They become satisfied. They become, first, just relieved that they weren't conned. And what James is talking about with experiential marketing is spot on. And what I love about experiential marketing, and the reason why I think it works so well compared to other channels, is that it gives people the chance to get a full sense of what that brand experience is going to be without that risk of having to make a purchase, whether it's a sampling, if that's the product, or whether it's a communication around the brand values and beliefs and whether or not that fits with you as a consumer and your lifestyle. You're given the chance to kind of fully connect with that without any of the risks that come from typical capitalism, typically having to go out of your way to go to a place, put down your hard-earned money and hope that the marketing wasn't lying and you got what you expected. And experiential kind of cuts through that. So it's really, it goes back to, every brand is dealing with the fact that consumers are making decisions and how they trust things and what their needs are across all kinds of experiences. And so the things that a consumer does that causes them to choose one bank over another is no different than when they're choosing a candy bar over another. It's the same person who's got the same kind of values, but that brand is going to be in a different place based on its historical marketing spend and what it's done to communicate itself. And experiential and experiential marketing is kind of moving people through that purchase cycle, removing those risks, getting them unstuck in that purchase cycle so that they can decide if being a customer is right for them. And so, yeah, I agree 100% with what James is saying, and definitely look at it from more of the researcher's perspective. But yeah, we're in total agreement.
So how has technology over the last 15, 20 years or 40 years even changed how we interact with and experience brands? What's the innovation there been, and how has it changed the experience?
Well, it's gotten a lot easier, hasn't it? It's gotten easier for brands to communicate what they're about in more efficient ways. And I guess that also allows more people, more companies, more products to get into the marketing world. It's the barriers to entry are less, I think, because of what technology has brought us.
Yeah, I think that's very true, Chris. And I also think that the reach has become more easy to obtain, right? And if you're doing a good job with your marketing, you're actually getting some sort of traction with your marketing consumers, then ideally they are using this kind of current technologies and certainly the social technologies and the internet connected stuff to help do some of the further marketing for you, right? That sense of advocacy or word of mouth marketing, where now word of mouth is no longer just person to person, voice to ear. It's now word of mouth in so many different channels that are, we've watched this evolution of some longer form storytelling into the short storytelling. We were just talking about Twitter, how it's come, it went really short. Now they lengthened it again because they want people to be able to say a little bit more.
Right.
But I think there's so many channels now where we can connect and communicate with people, and the technology has helped promote that a lot. The other thing I would mention is pointing back to Chris and his expertise and what his company is doing so well is this concept of the metrics and measurement and efficacy. And so what I've seen in my business, and actually one of the reasons I originally sought out connecting with Chris, was my clients from the creative experiential marketing side had sort of evolved beyond just the cool factor of, hey, let's use this cool technology at this event, or let's do this big, beautiful, awesome experience and just hope that it has some impact and some wow factor, and that creates an emotional response in our consumers and our attendees. But now they're getting wised up to the way of, hey, how effective is this? And how do we measure this? And how do we decide if it's a relevant and effective spend or investment in our overall marketing mix? And I think that's a place where Chris and his team have done really well to help quantify impact.
That trade-off is such a bummer too, isn't it? You can give an incredible experience that is going to make them loyal for life and do that with only a few people, or you can tailor back the experience and do it with more people. And you've got the awesome wow, James, but you're stuck with having to figure out, how do I balance that with what I hear brands talk about as working dollars? How do I balance that with maximizing the reach? And it's a trade-off. There's different brands get it right at different levels. It certainly impacts what the ROI is going to be, and it's the hard part of where I think experiential is evolving to. But important. It's important to keep it legitimate because it's what every other marketing channel has to deal with.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think the brand marketers and the buyers of such services are becoming more sophisticated in their own right, but they certainly have heard all this noise about digital transformation, and their CMO is asking for, better metrics and isn't there a way to do this stuff? And we're a little bit in the pioneer stage still of how we measure certain things. How do you measure an experience? How do you measure someone's emotional response to things? And there's a lot of challenges around that. It's certainly a hot topic and it's not going away. And the more that we can innovate in the way that we measure experiences is just going to benefit all of our marketing initiatives and the guys on this call, our businesses all the more.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So in the past, brands were experienced mainly physically, right? So you'd go into a store, you'd have a physical interaction with a business. How will, fill in the buzzword you want here, how will AR, VR, et cetera, change that? What impact does that have on brand experience?
I would love to look into to see the future and see where we're going to be 50 years from now, because it's going to be amazing. I mean, we know that like the first thing that was on radio were people reading the newspaper, and the first thing that was on television was a video of those broadcasting on the radio. Right. And the internet is all about showing TV in different ways, and it's just starting. Like you think about something like gaming and Twitch or like how we're opening up whole new markets and whole new industries because of where the internet's bringing us. And that next level is AR and VR. And I can't wait to see how it pans out and how it breaks out of these kind of traditional molds and finds its own place.
The future. Next time, Chris and James continue their discussion with us about experiential marketing here on the Innovation Podcast. So come back next time.
Thanks for joining Garnett and Mark on the Innovation Podcast. Visit innovationpodcast.co to subscribe and listen to other episodes.